You've counted every calorie, tried every diet, spent hours in the gym, and still something's missing. You want more than just weight loss. You want your energy back. You want your confidence restored. You want a way of living that doesn't feel like punishment. Welcome to Master Your Metabolism, where we cut through the noise, ditch the fads, and give you a real plan to become the healthiest, strongest version of you. Hosted by our team of expert coaches with proven strategies, science-based tips, and real-life encouragement, not just to help you lose fat, but actually create that lifestyle that you love. You've tried everything. Now, let's try what actually works. This is your turning point. Let's go.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Master Your Metabolism. I am here with Calvin, my lovely husband.
Hello.
And we just wanted to chat today about using AI and lots of people, using chat and different tools. And I always try to explain to people there are really great ways to utilize something like AI, especially when it comes to fat loss. I use it sometimes with the clients, and you almost want to think about it like MyFitnessPal. Calvin gave that great analogy because it is a tool, it is something that can be helpful, but it's not like having a coach. So I wanted in this episode to kind of give you guys some really good takeaways and ways that you can utilize this tool and use it if you are in a fat loss journey or trying to improve your health and things like that, because it can be very helpful. However, understanding the limitations of using something like AI and understanding that versus a coach and what the differences are. So by starting off with things that I have found have been really helpful with some of my clients that I work with, is using it for things like I give a client a goal. They have a certain macro target or calorie target, and they want some recipes. They want some things that they can make that it's not the same foods every day. Great. You can tell AI, please create me a meal plan for 3 days of meals, X amount of meals using whole foods, and create a weekly meal plan for me that I can follow that has minimal ingredients. Like there are so many different types of instructions you can give it, and it will literally spit out a meal plan for you with recipes, with ingredients. You can even ask it for a shopping list based on certain macros. That's a great tool, especially for people that don't like to cook, that don't like, a lot of things that they have to do at the end of the day, like thinking about what they're going to make for dinner. So it is absolutely a great tool to be able to use in that respect. If they only eat chicken, give me 5 chicken recipes that have 5 ingredients or less that are higher in protein, lower in fat, that I can create that are family friendly. Those are great tools. That's a way that you can use AI that it will absolutely help you. So you have recipes, you have a shopping list, even going out to a restaurant. I am on a fat loss journey. I am going to X restaurant. I need to see the best options that are higher in protein, lower in fat, or even close to X amount of macros so that I can stay on my goal. And they can give you some ideas and options for different restaurants. Great. However, with something like this, what comes to the point when I went to a restaurant and all my friends were there and they were making fun of me because I'm following this diet and they were, giving me a hard time, and I went ahead and caved and I wound up having something that I shouldn't have. That's the difference and where coaching comes in. That is where we're working on your mindset. That is where we are, working on your goals, ways that we can incorporate things to be able to keep you moving in the direction you want to be moving.
Yeah, it's a human touch and understanding emotions. And I can tell you we've been doing this for over 10 years and we have no 2 clients that are exactly the same.
Correct.
Each one has individual things about them that are unique, personality traits, all that. So it's kind of like, I guess an analogy would be like if you were the manager of a restaurant, right? And so the dynamics of all your wait staff, very different personalities and characteristics, and they have their problems and this and that. Would you have AI handle them? No. How would that turn out? It's the same type of thing with coaching. It's our job to give you the plan, but it's what kind of goes into the plan and thinking things through, because we have to consider all the different things that go with it, what's going to make a person successful. And part of that is learning the person and understanding them and understanding what makes them move and also understanding what they don't like and finding the things and collecting that data and building it up to try to make progress through those things in a way that it's very sustainable for the person and enjoyable. So those are things that you almost have to be a human to understand that and understand what it takes to kind of go into that motion. So if you detach it, you can get great info off of AI. I mean, I love it. I'll be honest with you. It's when you need it for certain things, it comes in clutch, but I still cross check everything I get from it because I don't fully trust it. And I can tell you it's not always on point, but it can get you closer and get you information when you're in a pinch. So it is very useful for a lot of things. But, when you're looking at something that has so many different variables into what makes you successful, that's not an area that you want to rely on a computer for.
Yeah. Even just looking at day-to-day things, right? Like disruptions in your routine, stresses that happen in your body, things that happen in your life, and learning how to navigate those things because of maybe prior dieting history, maybe because of things you've tried in the past, failures you've had. So now you are always reserved and scared of what is going to work or not work. You need a coach to be able to identify those things and work through it with you and being able to support you through those times. And that's something that a computer or AI can't do. They can't know, well, this person has tried many diets in the past. They have never been successful. So they are always thinking something's going to go wrong. So typically they will self sabotage. This is what they generally do when they're stressed out. This is what happens when they go on vacation because they've restricted for so long. So it's looking at all of those things, plus also knowing the person's health and wellness, looking at labs, understanding based on what we're seeing, what the root of the issue is many times. And sometimes it can be a health issue. And understanding, was stress the issue, was the gut the issue, and knowing which path we need to start on to be able to get the best results.
Yeah, and the mental state, and you're looking at a person's history, this is one of the things that we'd like to know more about with our clients is what's happened with them in the 5 years prior to working with us. What got them to that point that they needed to reach out to us? It's all these things really come into play because you have to know when you can push and when you have to pull back. That's a huge, huge part of being successful. You can't just do a constant flow all the time and expect that person's gonna do well off of that. You have to adjust based on this individual and where their headspace is at that time. And sometimes it takes a little pick me up. Sometimes it takes giving them a little break. Sometimes it takes some tough love, and kind of giving them that push when you know that that's what they need to get over the hump. So it is a very different, area for this to be a successful end, and to get them from point A to point B. So it's not saying that you can't be done. I'm not saying that a person can't use my fitness pal, clock in their information and just have a great weight loss from that. Absolutely that can happen, but that's also probably somebody that's hormones are at optimal level at the time when they went into it. Maybe they were overeating and it was just kind of like the stars were in alignment. But you got to consider the 90% of the rest of the population, but it's not there. That's the person's job is to find that and to unpack it and figure out how to put it all back together again.
And also just adaptation, because your body's going to work. It's going to work for a little while, but eventually it will stop, right? And knowing and being able to identify when those plateaus are happening, how to course correct. Do I cut again? Lots of people will start in a fat loss phase. They'll say, okay, I calculated this on my fitness pal. I kept going and then all of a sudden just stopped. So it's not working. And I just quit and went back to how I was eating before. So sometimes it also takes some guidance of being able to identify those times, knowing what to do in those times. A coach can look at it and say, well, this is what's been going on. I'm also looking at what this person's energy looks like. I'm looking at what their sleep is, what's happening with their sleep, what is happening with their appetite, what is happening in other areas with their digestion, and being able to take all that information and saying, okay, this is what you're telling me with all these different biofeedback markers. Now, this is some of the things that we can try. We can try a refeed. We can try a free meal. We could try a diet break. It's the coach and the experience they've had, the education that they've had to be able to determine what the next step should be. And that is something that's calculated, again, just from experience and what they've learned and knowing how the body works to be able to give somebody that plan. And knowing the person, like you mentioned, that after you work with someone, I know that there's some clients I can give them a certain plan and they will follow it to a T. There are other clients that will not be able to do that. So I need to have a little bit of a modification for them in order for them to be successful. So understanding the the human you are working with and being able to teach them as well. And that's another part of it is a coach's job is to be able to use the data to be able to get the results. But at the same time, giving the person that you're working with the information that you are observing so they understand how their body works. So eventually they could finish up with the coach and know, okay, I remembered that my body does this. This is just a plateau. This is what I should have done. This is how I did it. And this is how I moved through it. So I'm going to try that again. Because lots of those tools, again, are tools that we've learned from taking data and being able to share them with the client and them now having those tools. That's empowering. And that's not something that an AI tool can give. It's something that is observed, recognized, and again, through trial and error and working with the client, identifying what works best for them because not everybody can just do keto. Not everybody needs to do something like that. There are maybe times that you can use that. And again, great tool. AI, give me a keto type of diet plan or recipe plan for 5 days. And this is, the parameters. Great. But how do you know when that's should be used? And how do you know when to course correct?
Yeah, exactly. And as anybody that's really successful in life, they've used a coach, are still using a coach. We use a coach in 3 different areas. I'm IFBB pro with bodybuilding, and I still use a coach. When I go in, even though I've done 23 plus shows, and did prep myself for the first, like, 17 of them, so it's not that I don't know how to do it, it's because I understand the value of having a coach there and looking at you through different eyes, but learning how my body works, and I learn from that, and it's very valuable to me, and I don't mind paying for it, and I'll keep doing it because I understand that that's what I need to keep improving, so there is a big value in just having that person there. If not for anything else, they're holding you accountable, and they're cheering you on, and they're kicking you in the butt when you need it,
Yeah. And
it's
most people will perform better when they are working with someone because you don't want to
yeah,
let that person down a lot of times, right? So, I'm working with a coach too. And when I'm working with a coach, I kind of know how my body works by now, and I know Calvin could do it for me, but sometimes you just want, again, someone else that's outside that I know that I have to answer to.
I'll
I
second
know.
that. I want somebody else to coach. It's a piece in the house.
But again, you want someone that you can
Mm,
give that 110%
yeah,
to. You know that you are gonna work and bring it just to that higher level when you know that there is someone that is trying to help you and someone that is trying to guide you. So I definitely think, just for many of these reasons that this would be, the difference between having just AI spit out some information and a coach interpreting information, because I think that's where the difference is interpreting the data and utilizing it to give you a plan that is customized to you and takes into account your personality, the reason that you're doing things, why you are being driven to work on a certain goal, and using that information to be able to support you, keep you accountable and guide you, and knowing again based on your labs where you should be focusing and taking all the information into account of your daily check-ins and weekly check-ins to be able to use that information to be able to come up with a plan and explain it to you and educate you as to what is going to work best.
yeah, absolutely, and just think of it as AI is a great tool to use in conjunction with that,
Yes.
when you need it. So, it can make your life a lot easier in those areas, like she said. So it's something to have in the back pocket, but not something that you wanna put all your weight on, for sure.
Awesome. Awesome. So, thank you guys so much for joining. I hope we gave you at least a little bit of information and some ways that you can use AI that would be helpful. I also find it helpful not just for like, I'm out right now, I'm stopping with my kids at Chick-fil-A. What is something here that I can get that is lower in fat, you know, higher in protein? I am going on vacation. This is where I'm going to be. What are some options of grocery stores that are close by so I can pick up some things that would be useful for my goals? What are some different protein sources, some different healthy carb sources, some different healthy fat sources? They can spit out some examples for you. You can even do it of give me some protein sources that I can get 20 grams of protein per meal, and it will give you a list. Lists are great, but again, knowing how to implement that, that is where the coaching comes in. So thank
Yeah,
you
and it
so
can
much.
even make a really cool caricature picture of you too, about what you're gonna look like when you finish your transformation. That's really the
Yes,
best part.
that is actually something one of our clients did that was super helpful, and it was she kept that picture, and just so
Mm.
you guys know, you just ask, "If I continue on this health journey and I get to my goal, what would I look like?" And it can give you that image, and she keeps that image now on her phone as her screensaver to keep her in check over the weekends.
The AI is not our enemy, AI is our friend.
It is. It
Just
is.
know its place, that's all.
Exactly. So thank you guys so much for joining us. And until next time, we really appreciate it if you follow us and subscribe, and also share a review and any comments that you would like some new episodes or any information that you'd like to see us talk about in the future. Have a good one.
Thanks for tuning in to Master Your Metabolism. If you found value in today's episode, it would mean the world to us if you'd hit subscribe and share this episode with someone who could use a little guidance in their health journey. Ready to take the next step? Head over to www.mastersfitnesscoaching.com and you can book a free call right from the site so we can chat about your goals and how we can help support you. Don't forget to join our Facebook group where we're sharing coaching tips, support, and tricks to help keep you on track and continue making progress. You don't have to do this alone. We're here to walk with you every step of the way. Until next time, stay consistent, stay kind to yourself, and keep mastering your metabolism. Let's do this together.